I want to talk to you guys today about putting your SP on a pedestal. You hear so many people in the community tell people don't put your SP on a pedestal. While I do agree with that, I want you to know, me personally, I think it's 100% okay to put your person on a pedestal, especially in the beginning. Let me explain to you exactly what I mean. In my personal opinion, in the beginning of so many people's manifestation journey, we always put whatever that thing is that we're after, whether it be a person or a job, career, etc. We always tend to put that thing on such a high pedestal, and understandably so. However, the big problem to me, especially in the beginning, is the lack of acceptance when it comes to this point. And I think the lack of acceptance when it comes to this point is the exact reason why this creates so much resistance around people when we tell them to not put their specific person on a pedestal or whatever it is that they're trying to manifest. A huge part in the process of manifestation to me is acceptance. And I don't think acceptance is talked about enough because there is so much spiritual bypassing and people saying,
oh, you don't gotta do it this way. You don't gotta do it that way. All you gotta do is affirm.
there's so much advice out there, and a lot of people don't know where to turn to, and a lot of people don't realize the fact that they're not accepting what they've done or what has happened is also a very big hindrance to them moving forward with whatever it is that they're trying to manifest. Don't look at the fact that you put your SP on a pedestal for so long. Don't look at that as a bad thing. Accept the fact that you have put them on a pedestal for so long. Accept the fact that you were obsessed with the fact that you wanted them to text you or you wanted to hear from them. Accept that. Don't run from that fact. It's 1,000,000% okay that you felt that way or still may feel that way as you're watching this video, especially, like I said, in the beginning of your manifestation journey. In the beginning of your manifestation journey, you are not going to change the way you feel about your SP overnight. So don't feel any guilt or shame for putting them on a pedestal or continuing to put them on a pedestal even after you learn about law of assumption or law of attraction. It's completely normal. But what a lot of us are doing is we are denying the fact, covering up the fact that we are obsessed with our SP, and we kind of push it to the back and we don't deal with that, which then in turn creates resistance. If you guys are understanding what I'm saying, it creates resistance when you guys are not admitting and accepting the fact that you really do feel this way. You really do love your SP, and that's stopping you from moving forward on an energetic level. It's kind of like those people who are addicts when you go to Alcoholics Anonymous and different things like that. They always tell you the first step to healing is to admit you have a problem. Admit that you are hooked on this drug, or admit that you are hooked on this type of alcohol or just drinking in general. Admit it. And that's going to set you up to help get rid of the shame and the guilt around it. Because when we try to deny the fact, when we're in denial about the fact that we really want our SP or we miss them, and we try to cover it up and act like,
nah, that doesn't bother us. Nah, I'm gonna be good with or without them.
you're just creating way more resistance around the manifestation process in all likelihood. So stop running from yourself and lean into the fact, yes, I am putting them on a pedestal. Yes, I will keep them on a pedestal for the near future. That's totally okay, because that's going to help you cope with it in a much better way, instead of suppressing your feelings and not coping with it in a proper way. In my opinion, on this manifestation journey, and most coaches won't tell you this, you never want to suppress your feelings around any subject or topic. You never want to suppress how you really feel about something. I believe in you dealing with those feelings however you feel, even if people are telling you, no, you're wrong, you shouldn't feel that way. I believe you should 100% feel into that. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, scream. Do whatever. If you need to get angry, get angry. It doesn't matter. I always recommend people never run from how they're feeling, because this suppression is a big part of the reason why, again, people stay stuck. Don't judge yourself for continuing to put your person on a pedestal. Don't feel like an idiot for putting them on a pedestal. Two problems to me when it comes to putting a person on a pedestal that you want to avoid is, one, putting them on a pedestal from an energetic level, and two, not putting yourself on that pedestal as well. What some people don't talk about is, to me, it's totally fine putting something or someone on a pedestal as long as it's not on an energetic level. What does that mean? There is a difference between putting somebody on a pedestal and being energetically attached to that, and being non-energetically attached to that. It is very much possible to have a specific person that you want and you not have them, and you know that's what I want, that's what I'm aiming for, while not energetically putting them up here and keeping yourself down here. You can think in your mind, man, I really want that person. Man, I really want that house, or I really want that item, whatever that item may be. But energetically, you're not saying to yourself, I'm gonna die if I don't get this. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna hate life. Life is gonna be miserable if I don't get X, Y, and Z. That's the difference. And that's why so many people suffer when it comes to putting a specific person on a pedestal, is because energetically, you're putting all your emotion, all your heart energy, if you wanna use those types of terms, you're putting all of that into getting your SP back. You're putting all of that emotion into these techniques that you're doing. You're putting all of that emotion into watching all of this YouTube content or TikTok content or whatever it is. You're putting all of that energy, which is causing you to energetically put them on a pedestal. And like I said, energetically, you want to take them off the pedestal. It's okay to put somebody or something on a pedestal as long as your energy and your emotions and all of your being basically is not tied into it. In my mind, I want my dream house, my dream property. I want it. In the physical 3D, I don't have it yet. But energetically, I'm not putting it on a pedestal. In my mind though, I'm thinking about it a lot. It is on a pedestal in my mind. But physically and how I feel about it, it's not draining and sucking the life out of me. I'm not panicking. I'm not trying to do all of these techniques to get it. So mentally and energetically, I'm not necessarily putting it on a pedestal, but on my list of things, it's definitely number one and it's a priority. I hope this is really making sense, me saying that it's okay to put something on a pedestal, but take it off of the pedestal energetically, and also put yourself on that pedestal as well. You don't ever want to put anything up there on a pedestal and not put yourself. But what happens a lot of times is most people, they put whatever object they desire or whatever person they desire, they put them on that pedestal and they leave themselves down here while they elevate all of these things up here and put those things over there. There's nothing wrong with, to me, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with putting whatever you want up here, but just always make sure you put yourself up there as well so you can meet that thing. Know you are just as important or more important than the thing that you want to manifest. And that's the problem that a lot of people have. Most people don't know they are as important, more important than that thing that they are trying to manifest. And this is where the dissonance comes in. And this is why we always talk about self-concept, because once you realize you are as important or more important than your SP, or once you realize you are as important, more important than that house that you want to manifest or that job you want to manifest, that's when you can begin to be on that frequency to match it and attract it into your life. But as long as you think it's up here and you're down here energetically, there is no match. The match can't happen. Also, what I want to touch on with you guys is inner conversations versus outward actions. In our SP Mastermind group, we had a great discussion on inner conversations, inner dialogue, how so many of us, myself included, especially years ago, before I started really studying this stuff, and even after I started studying it, I wasn't really applying it. But we talked about how years ago, you have these inner conversations with yourself and you be having fake arguments with somebody in your head, a parent, a sibling, or whoever, a friend, and you have these fake arguments in your head as if you're actually talking to them, and you get so angry, you get so heated, and this is part of your mental diet, your mental dialogue that you're having with yourself, or just imagining this conversation going down. And what people don't realize is a lot of times they get afraid because they think that mental conversation means something and is actually potentially going to happen in the 3D. Let me say this, I've had those conversations with myself in my head many times. Not one time did a physical conversation like how I played it out in my head, not one time did it actually happen that way. I bring that up to you because I want everyone to understand these inner conversations don't really mean anything if you don't act outwardly in the 3D towards those conversations. You know, a lot of times when you have those conversations in your head and you're playing it out, or you're having a fake argument with somebody and you think when you run into them, it's gonna go the way that you have it in your head. And then a lot of times when you run into them, it doesn't go the way that you thought it was gonna go. It goes a hell of a lot better. Or like I said in the SP Mastermind group, a lot of those negative conversations you have in your head, a lot of those conversations don't even actually come to fruition in the 3D. Oftentimes we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. And that statement is 1000% facts to me. Our imagination destroys us. We suffer so much in imagination. We create so many false stories in imagination. We create so many false SP stories in imagination, stuff that hasn't even happened or stuff that will never happen, all because our mind is playing tricks on us because we have no control over it. And understand, whatever imagination you have, whatever negative thoughts or conversations you're having with yourself or to other people in your mind, they mean nothing if you don't act on it in the actual 3D. That old saying goes, life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it. So whatever you're thinking in your head, you have a choice to control what you think I know it's gonna be hard in the beginning, but you also have a choice to control what you do and how you react on those thoughts in the 3D. As long as you don't act on those negative conversations that you're having up here, because some people will. Some people will have these negative thoughts and conversations up here with an invisible person or whoever in their family, and then they will actually go into 3D and they will actually make that happen. And that's what you don't want to do. But a lot of times it doesn't happen that way. It happens only up here, but in the 3D, it doesn't happen. At least that was the case for myself. Again, I had those conversations up here, but out in the 3D, if I did end up having a conversation with somebody about what I was arguing about in my head, it never went the way that I had going on up here in my head. Inner conversations does not necessarily mean that the outward action will match. And to me, this is actually a very good thing, because can you imagine if exactly what we thought immediately showed up in reality, no questions asked? I think there was an episode of Star Trek back in the day where there was an episode that whatever you thought about, it literally just popped up immediately. Now you can think about how chaotic your life would be if whatever you thought about or whatever you were arguing in your head or whatever, like that situation just literally popped up out of nowhere. This makes you rethink and be glad at the fact that I don't get what I want when I want it. Because think about what would happen to a lot of us if we got what we wanted when we wanted it. A lot of us wouldn't be able to handle it. We would probably fumble it, lose it, all of the above. Also, too, history shows us that most people get what they continuously think about. So if you have these fake arguments or this fake inner mental dialogue in your head about something or someone or whatever the case may be, it's going to take you usually a long period of time to continue to think and to have that conversation before you actually see it in the 3D naturally, or before you actually enact it out in the 3D yourself. Again, this is why so many of us preach repetition in the community, because repetition is what allows things to actually come into fruition. So if you have an argument once or twice in your brain, it's most likely not going to come into fruition. But if you keep going to sleep night after night, having that argument for a few weeks or a month or whatever the case, then don't be surprised if that argument that you were having up here actually comes into fruition in the 3D. So I say all that to say, kind of how I said earlier with the other stuff, don't beat yourself up over these mental conversations, because a lot of these mental conversations will probably not happen. Just like I said, don't beat yourself up over putting your SP or whoever or whatever that thing is on a pedestal. Don't beat yourself up over that. It's because it's the energetic part you guys all want to get under control. If you can get the energetic part under control, then these fake arguments that you have in your head, putting your person on a pedestal, all that stuff you have in your head, it's not going to be in anything, because it's not going to come into fruition, because energetically you are detached from it.